Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everyday Life and Finance with Robbie. I'm Robbie, and today I want to talk to you a bit about relationships. Yes, we are going to go there. In some instances, relationships do have an impact on your finances or your ability to meet your financial goals in many ways, but we'll talk about that a little. But the first thing, I always talk about assessing and planning. um, you should always assess your relationships. Make certain that your relationship is working for you. Are both partners being considered in the relationship? Or are you holding on to something that may not be benefiting you or the other part, your partner? Now, when I say benefit you, I need you to consider both partners in a relationship and what each partner brings to the relationship and what they take from the relationship. Is it consistent? Is it enough? Is it enough for you? You want to think about those things. So, in a relationship, both partners should benefit in some form from the relationship. Whether, I'm not talking financially, but it could be financially or just bringing joy into your life. The finances are not always going to be equal, and that shouldn't be the only thing that you consider. However, you always want to consider whether you're being considered, whether that your partner thinks about you, thinks about the things that you want to do. You like to travel, you like to work out, and maybe, they do something with you every now and then. Maybe they don't do it all the time because just because you're in a relationship with someone doesn't mean you have to do everything together. There's sometimes that you need to do things alone. Have some alone time as well to continue to develop yourself and become a better you. During your lifetime, it's an opportunity to continue to grow and develop yourself. It doesn't matter what age you are. You should be growing, learning something new, doing something to better yourself, to better your life, and to become more happy. To make certain, check your happiness, temperature, and make certain that you're doing things that make you happy and not just doing things that make the other person happy. Now, there are some instances whereas maybe that you can't make that form of an assessment. Maybe your partner is going through a difficult period in time. Maybe they're going through a health crisis or something along those lines. So I am not saying that, if that person is going through a crisis, you just up and leave them or, not take time to help them through that crisis. But you always have to consider yourself, you can't be of any value to anyone if you are not healthy, you are not happy, and that's important. So again, like I said, I'm not saying that if your partner is going through a crisis that you up and leave because you're not benefiting, but assess whether in the past your partner did things for you, brought joy to your life in some way, and now may be the time that you can give back and pour into them during this crisis that they're going through. There are going to be ups and downs, and they're not always going to be things that you share jointly, that you go through, not share, go through jointly. Maybe it's just something that you're experiencing or your partner's experiencing, and you want to make certain that, you assess that and figure that out and make certain that, you're there for that person, but you want to make certain that you're taking care of yourself as well. Okay, so in a relationship, both parties, may not be contributing to the relationship in the same manner. Now, I'm not talking about financial contributions, at least not yet. but they may not be contributing. Maybe they make you happy in one way. Maybe you're helping them to achieve certain things and they're helping you in other ways. But each partner contributes in their own way. You know, you can't look at it and say, oh, I'm doing X, Y, and Z and they're not doing it. It's not always going to be that way. So you have to make an assessment and look at what both partners are doing or contributing to the relationship. You know, not just contributing to you or you contributed to them. What do you bring to the relationship? How are you making each other better? How are you growing together? How are you encouraging that other person? How is that person encouraging you? Because you don't want to be in a relationship whereas you're encouraging them, helping them, you know, doing things for them, and they don't see you. You know, you want to make certain that that is not the case, because that does not make for a happy you. And in some instances, when that happens, that's when people, you know, people can, not saying that it's right, but people step out on relationships because of that. But you don't want that to be the case. Or if you see that that's the case, you want to talk about it. You want to consider whether you need to go to couples therapy or something like that, just to take a temperature check and to keep things on track. Just because you're doing this assessment doesn't mean that the assessment goes down the path of, okay, if it's not working right now, I'm just going to end it. No. You know, there must have been something that brought you into this relationship, and if it was for the best, for good, you know, then you want to reevaluate and see what you can do to save it, or if it's even worth saving. So you want to take a look at those sorts of things. You deserve to be happy. Don't waste your time and effort, you know, with someone or something that isn't benefiting you now, or you don't expect it to benefit you in the future. You know, you don't want to be in a one-sided relationship. You want to make certain that both parties are contributing in some form, you know, to the relationship, and that you're happy, that each of you are happy. You want to make certain, you know, that that is the case. So you want to figure out what is best for you, and what doesn't work for you. And, you know, maybe it's time to have that difficult conversation with your partner and just tell them, hey, you know, I'm not so happy about this, or I want to do more of this. You know, what do you think? You know, how can we do this together? But again, keeping in mind, when you say do this together, it doesn't mean that you do everything, that you're not joined at the hip. You know, it doesn't mean you have to do everything together, but how can you participate in each other's lives? So let's say you have, you know, a partner that enjoys biking and they do, you know, they race or something along those lines. You want to support them maybe by going to the race, you know. Maybe you don't want to participate in the sport, but you want to cheer them on. So you want to take a look at those things, and, you know, you should continuously, you know, assess your relationship. And I'm not talking about complain and nag and things like that. You know, have a good conversation, just a heart to heart, not an argument. You want to be able to communicate and talk to your partner in a way that, you know, it benefits both of you. Not arguing, not screaming, none of that. You should be able to talk to each other and say, this is what's making me happy. And maybe you don't resolve it right then and there, but at least you've given them something to think about, and they know, you know, what you're feeling. You know, people can't read your mind. You know, maybe they didn't realize, oh, I didn't realize she wasn't happy. Oh, I didn't realize that he felt like I was neglecting him. So you want to make certain that, you know, you have a conversation, you communicate. Don't let, you know, let it build up, you know, anything that's bothering you. Don't let it build up inside and create stress. Stress affects your health, and your health, you know, can affect your finances, you know. So you want to make certain that you try to live a stress-free life. and talk about things, get it out, but get it out in a polite and nice manner. You don't have to scream, you don't have to argue, you don't have to do any of that. Okay, so you want to also look at whether a relationship is affecting you financially. Is it affecting your financial security or your financial position? You know, there's some instances where you may be in a relationship whereas you're helping someone, you know, they're working on achieving their goals, and you've said, hey, I'm going to take I'm going to take on the financial burden of the household. Or they say, you go back to school, um, uh, chase after your dreams, and I'm going to take on, the financial responsibility of the household while you do that and you get up to speed. You want to make certain that that they're still working towards those goals. They're not doing anything that's taking advantage of you, or they're just not saying this is what I'm doing but not really doing anything, and you are absorbing all of the financial costs and paying for everything and whatever. No, you don't. You don't want to be taken advantage of, taken for granted. So you want to make certain that you talk about these things, you figure out what they're doing, and you set timelines, you set deadlines for when they should be able to accomplish certain things and how long you're willing to take on, those financial responsibilities. Set timelines that both of you are aware of. Communicate this. This is how long I can do this. And don't let things impact you all the time. You want to make certain that you are not the only one that's, being impacted by something. You want to make certain that that other person, your partner, is considering you, considering your feelings, considering your financial security, not just focused on themselves. Again, a partnership consists of two people. When you're partners, you're in a relationship, it consists of two people. And I said a partnership as if it's a business, but it's not, so I don't want you to take that as my message. It's not a business, but you both have to be considered. It's you're in a relationship, you're partners with each other. And you want to make certain that you're not stressed out, because again, stress is harmful and it's unhealthy, and it could cost you later. So later on. So do an assessment, make sure you are happy and continuing to grow with your significant other. Make sure that that's the case. If not, have a conversation. If you feel that that's not working, you have to make some tough decisions. If you feel that it's impacting you financially, you may have to make some tough decisions. Don't be afraid, to go it alone. If something isn't working for you and you come to the conclusion that you've given, it your all, you've shown up, you've been considerate, you've communicated to the other partner, and they're just not considering you, then you may have to make that tough decision that it's time to go it on your own. And don't be afraid. Some people will say, oh, don't do that because then you won't have anyone. No, sometimes, it's best to go out on your own and take some time to find you, to get happy again. And that may lead you to the right partner. Maybe you're not with the right partner, but you have to make these assessments and make the uncomfortable decisions. Decisions are, making these decisions, it's not always comfortable, but sometimes it's the thing that you have to do. You have to make this decision, and it doesn't have to be ugly. You can talk about it, you can explain your feelings, and just decide to part ways. No anger, no screaming, no fussing, no fighting. That's not necessary. That's not healthy for either of you. So you have to make a decision and, plan for it. Figure out, this is my plan, this is my timeline. Don't just do anything haphazardly. Think about it, plan for it, and figure it out. Or maybe you don't want to in the relationship. Maybe you think, couples therapy could do you some good. So make sure you go through everything. And if you've exhausted, all options and it's just not working, then you may have to go it alone and learn how to love yourself, so that you can love others, you know? And this may lead you to the partner of your dreams. You just don't know. So don't just sit in something just because. Figure it out. Figure out how to make it work, or if you can't make it work, and sometimes you have to make that tough decision. So again, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. If you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the future.